Welcome back, everybody. In this week's video, we are going to be doing some testing. I went out and bought this pink house wrap with my own money. It is 75 feet long by 3 feet tall, and we're going to go and take this material. We're going to cut out circles that are the sizes of our bats, and we're going to see how we can use this for throwing. You may have seen this in other videos. I want to test out this particular material because it is supposedly waterproof to see if it makes throwing easier or harder. So stick around and find out. This material is so easy to cut. I already cut a little bit, but just to show you how I would do it. Just take the material, unroll it, and then take whatever you want to cut your shape out of. I'm using my 12-inch plastic board as my stencil. Put it on top, and then I'm using a pencil to trace. You could use a pen, a Sharpie, whatever you want. And then all you do is just mark. And I'm gonna go and push down pretty hard because initially if you mark, it's really hard to see. But if you go over it a few times, it gets a little easier to see the outline. Then you get your trusty scissors, and just like wrapping paper for those who wrap up presents at Christmas time, you just cut and you can easily slide, which is pretty awesome. So I'm going to cut it off this roll first and then cut it to size. Okay, so let's get this out of the way. We have a nice clean workspace. Alright, so cutting this. It's a little awkward. I am left-handed, but you could just cut and snip, but I like sliding it. So I just kind of cut and I just rotate the material because this thing is just so easy to cut. Sometimes I might need to adjust the scissors to re-establish the edge, but more or less you just snip. Now when I cut my first one, I cut it like it was paper, and I just open and close the cutting edges, and that works. But I noticed that sometimes we don't cut cleanly, it creates this little jaggedness, but I actually cut cleanly, of course, while I'm recording. But I mean, this demo is not about cutting. This demo is about using it on the pottery wheel. So I just wanted to show you how easy this particular material it is to cut. I don't know how it goes with the other materials that are waterproof, but anyway, I'm going to cut the rest of this, and then we're going to jump on the wheel and get this going. So I got my clay, I got my house wrap. Let's go ahead and see if this works. Let's get this set up. I'm gonna have some clay and slip. Okay, that looks pretty good. Got a little more slip on there. That feels a lot more sticky. And so if you've done this before and you know of a easier technique than what I'm doing, please let me know in the comments below. Okay, and then let's get it stuck. I probably shouldn't have added water until I added the clay. Silly me. Let's get that removed. Okay, here we go. Roll it. Tap it. Oh, shifting already. Yeah, can't be too rough. And let's center. Looks like as long as I'm applying straight downwards pressure for the centering, it shouldn't shift. Okay, I can see it move a little bit, but not too bad. All right. Now let's get the rolling pin in. Get this all lubricated up. And let's compress. That feels really nice. Much easier than the hands. Much faster too. This might be a game changer when it comes to making plates. Feels pretty compressed. Thickness looks pretty good. Alright, now let's get my width from my calipers. Alright, I got some clay to play around with. Now normally when you do the rolling pin you can cut this off by hand, but let's just try to compress it and center it. Ideally I don't really want to try to use any rigid tools against this edge. I don't want to cut the material. Let's see how the push inward goes, and that feels nice and easy. Wow. Whoever thought of this is a genius. Alright, calipers to get my width, so at least the plates look somewhat similar. And I do have a laser level that I use for production like this, but this is just testing things out, so I don't want to have too many things going on. That made it so easy. Okay, compress the lip, thin it out. That was far faster than the first plate. Apologies for the helicopter flying above. Look how much more even that is. Alright, so far I'm a fan. Let's compress. Now technically you don't really need to do this since you compress the whole thing with a rolling pin at first, but it is a little on the thicker side, so I want to compress this a little more. If you want to see more ceramic videos, don't forget to like and subscribe. That way it helps grow the channel and you'll be able to see these videos as they're released every week. And around the top. Rises and falls a little bit, so we'll just cut that a tad bit. That's always super fun and satisfying. Okay, thin this out a little more. And don't mind the students walking outside. Bell's gonna ring soon, so I gotta hurry up before it gets a little wild out there. Get a little better groove down here. And let's use the wooden knife to cut the bottom. Get a nice clean edge. And this step is definitely not required. You can just trim this in. But something about just revealing your edge is always so satisfying. And the last time I used the needle, I'll try to float it. I really don't want to scratch this new material. Much better than the first attempt. Alright. Plate number 2. Much faster, much easier. Definitely learned from the first round. So let's get this outside to dry. We still got to trim this, but that will be fairly easy to show. Okay, let's pop this off and let's put this outside to dry. Here's the moment of truth. This piece has been sitting outside and drying in the sun. Normally you just let it dry naturally, but we sped it up with the sun. We're going to go ahead and put this on top, flip it over, and see how easy this peels off. Alright, here we go. Here's a flip. Alright. That was effortless. Now let's see how this peels off. Oh, it's just like a sticker. Wow. That is so satisfying. And that feels pretty dry, considering it was on a fabric. Like, I could trim this right now. It's definitely not as dry as the clay walls, but this is definitely trimming consistency, and that was amazing. No warping, no wiring, and we have a game changer. So this is the second one I made with the rolling pin. This one's not as dry as the first piece that we just peeled, but let's go ahead and see how it works with a piece a little wetter. Okay, put the board on top, sandwich it, flip. Looks like we have to peel the board off of the plastic. Still a little wet. Alright, let's see how satisfying this is. And it still peels off easily like a sticker. And oh boy, isn't that so satisfying. And I did wash the first one, and it's so easy to wash. You just rinse it off in the sink with a sponge and let it dry. And yeah. Nice and flat. Has some moisture left over, but other than that, this technique is going to change the way I make plates. Because now I was never really a fan of plates because of the whole flipping and chance of warping, but I think this will hopefully prevent pieces from warping, or less warping, because you're not having to wire or pry. You just flip and peel. Yeah, if this is something you want to try out, I highly recommend it. There's a slight learning curve to actually centering with the piece on top of the bat that you use, but give it a shot. Let me know how it works for you in the comments, and I'm going to do some more testing with some other pieces, some bowls, some taller cylinders, and I'll see how that works, and I'll film it and give you guys the end result. So thank you for watching. This is ready to trim now, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. But wow, that was amazing. And this is the paper. I could easily take this and wash it and reuse it, because this is waterproof. Let it dry out and keep reusing it until somehow this thing gets deteriorated or breaks. Very cool. So here's that first one I used. Washed it, it's still wet, but let's go ahead and use it again. And as I throw this last one, I'll talk about some final thoughts on this. Let's get some clay. And as I'm adding this clay, I'm just trying to make sure there's no high spots. And the plate I threw right before this, the one that I just peeled off, I didn't even wash it. I actually just grabbed a new bat, redid it, and then re-threw it. So this technique is such an awesome, fun, and easy way to throw your bowls, throw your plates. And then of course, as I'm doing it, it slips on me. But anyway, compress it nicely. And let's get our bowl. Alright, so final thoughts about throwing with house wrap as a barrier. Yeah, I like it. It definitely had a slight learning curve. More so just me being a little worried about it slipping off as I threw. But as I got kind of more comfortable with how sticky this thing is, I definitely was able to kind of apply a little more pressure here and there. And even now as I'm throwing, it did slip a little bit, and you'll feel it slip. It goes from center to off center, and then your hands can hopefully re-grab it. But there's definitely a learning curve. You have to kind of taper your pressure, and that does take a little bit to get used to. But overall, this technique, I can see it being a lot easier for people to make plates, especially if you want to make really thin plates. Oftentimes my students would make these paper thin plates, and when they had to cut it off and then pop it off the bat, it would end up bending, and that will caused it to warp, and it lifted up. So now with these plates, that we're compressing it so much, we're letting the clay more or less stay flat, and we're not really lifting anything up and down. Man, I understand why people like this technique. Would I recommend it to other people? Definitely. At least try it, see if you like it. Peeling the paper off the bottom is definitely the most satisfying part of this process. I want to do more testing with it. I want to try it with bowls and vases that are taller. And honestly, you don't really need it for those taller pieces, but just to see how much pressure you can apply to it when you throw it up vertically would be a cool thing to test out. And yeah, I'm really excited to see what this wrap can actually do and what we can push it towards. So yeah, if you want to give it a shot, I highly recommend it. Definitely give yourself time to get used to centering it and seeing how your clay moves with it. Some tips I highly recommend: don't be stingy on the amount of slip you apply to the base. The more you apply, the stickier the whole thing can be. I didn't really need to apply it to the bottom of the paper. I just needed to apply it to the board because I applied it thick enough. And yeah, I don't know. Just honestly, you just got to give it a shot. It's such a cool feeling to do something a little different than what you normally have tried for many, many times. But anyway, thank you for watching. And if you give it a shot, let me know in the comments. I have another material I want to try out later. I have another material I want to try out later. It's a little thicker, asphalt paper, meant for roofing. I've seen other people use that too. I heard it gets kind of stinky though when it gets wet. But so far, no smell on this guy. It's doing what I want it to do. So yeah, give it a shot. Let me know how it goes, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'm just going to finish this plate. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to watch this video and the series, and I'm really excited for the next video series to come out. And so if you want to see those when the videos are released, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps to grow this little channel and helps me produce more content for you guys. And as always, if you want to see anything specific, let me know in the comments. And thank you for watching as always, and I'll see you in the next video.